When did you start making stop motion videos?
When did I?
Yeah.
Probably in the mid-90s.
Oh, okay.
So maybe 15 years ago.
Okay. So, can you tell me about your latest stop motion that you've made?
Can I tell you about my latest stop motion? Well, it's been a little while. I did one to, let's see, what was it? I think I was just demonstrating a clay figure shooting a basketball.
Oh.
And you know what was very hard about that?
Shooting the basketball in midair?
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to keep things in midair in stop motion.
So, what are your favorite type of stop motion movies?
What kind of stop motion movies are there?
Well, there's Star Wars, King Kong, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, I have to tell you, I love Tim Burton's stuff. I think it's really complex. I will tell you that my favorite stop motion piece is a commercial for Chipotle, where they showed a different farm scene. And in most stop motion, you hold the camera still and you move the characters around. You move an eyebrow or make them blink or move an arm. In this stop motion, this commercial for Chipotle, the camera was actually moving along with the characters. So they were moving not just the characters, but the camera is too. So very, very complicated.
Oh.
And I'm sure it took millions of dollars. It had to be very expensive.
So, what inspired you to make stop motion?
Well, when I was very young, there was a TV series that was on Sunday morning named Davy and Goliath. And it, looking back on it, they look kind of silly. But I always wondered, how did they make those characters, and how did they make them seem more interesting than just regular Disney-like animation? And that's how I learned about stop motion. And that's when I started really liking it.
Oh. So, what is the favorite stop motion that you've made?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think what my favorite one would be. I'm trying to think of even one that would be interesting. Most of what I do are just little projects, small scenes, not really full-length film. Most of the work I do is actually in 3D animation. It doesn't use stop motion, but it uses computerized characters in 3 dimensions. But I will tell you, one of my favorite projects I did was actually a flat surface where we had clay on about a notebook-sized sheet of paper, all with different shapes that were moving, and it seemed like everything was growing and moving and writhing. So it wasn't really character, it was more just really incredible moving art. It was really fun. What do you like about stop motion?
Well, what I like is how it's just really like an easy version of animate. It's an easy version of animation because it's just, you get to move it slowly and just little pictures, and then you just put it all together and it looks like one whole thing. And then other than just all the drawing and all the computerization that takes that make it.
So you like it because it's easy? It's easier than computerized animation?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think exactly the opposite. For me, the computerized animation is much easier. The stop motion is very hard. I think my problem is I'm not a very good artist, so it's hard for me to think of what a character should look like in clay or in something soft and moldable. My characters always look like there's something wrong with them. I'm not a very good artist with clay. It's great playing.
So, King, what type of software do you like to use?
Well, the stop motion software is very, very simple. It's really just translating one picture that's taken from a camera at a time and then putting them together. So I'll use software that's pretty close to Photoshop. There's a software package called After Effects from Adobe, and I love that because you can put effects in. So, like if you have two characters in the foreground, you could focus the characters, keep the characters focused, but put a softer focus or an out of focus background, so you can really highlight what you want the characters to look at. And then you can put things in like, we call them lens flares. You ever know, you know
like
what a lens flare
Star
is?
Trek.
Yeah, they do it a lot. It's when you have a point of light, but then you see like a cross flickering, shimmering out of that point of light. Those kinds of effects are easy to use, or better to do in After Effects than Photoshop. But you can edit those frames almost one at a time.
Okay. And can you give me any good techniques?
Oh my gosh, sure. I think the mistake that most young people make when they're trying to do stop motion is not having control of the light and the camera. Everyone focuses on the characters that they're moving, but they don't spend a lot of attention on lights and cameras. You have to hold the camera perfectly still. I mean, it has to be anchored. And then you have to control the light. Like, you couldn't shoot outside because the sun moves through the sky, or seems to move through the sky, so shadows change. So if you shoot outside, it might take you 8 hours to do 1 minute of stop motion. And in that time, a character's shadow might start on this part of the ground and then move over here and then end up on this part of the ground. So the user would be very disturbed when they saw that. It wouldn't make any sense. So you have to shoot inside, and you have to shoot with very controlled lighting. You have to hold the camera very still. You can't touch the camera. And then you have to get, I always like to shoot maybe twice as many frames as I think I'm going to need, because it's easy to throw a frame out, but it's almost impossible to put a frame that you missed in. So if I don't think a character should blink its eye, I may just put an eye blink in anyway. I might use it, and I might not. So those are some simple tips to remember.
Okay. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. It was a pleasure. Thank you.